The ferocity of Batman's attacks, it's second only to Ben Affleck's insane Batman.
Right.
Like that
but
warehouse.
More of a realistic version of it.
Yeah, he was
hammered.
The hell are you supposed to be?
Stop! He's already dead.
And this is a show you already know, like my gram, Blerd, YouTube, Blerd, everything I do so blurred. Bet you wish you so blurred.
Welcome to Blerd Vision. We are back from seeing The Batman. What did you think of the movie, BeautifulDiz? Yes, let's start positive. Let's just give a real quick synopsis of where our relationship with the Batman is, because I was raised on the 90s Batman animated series. I love the comics. Dark Knight trilogy. A little bit underwhelmed by the finale at the time, but with hindsight, I really appreciate the trilogy as an overarching story. And BVS was trash. So we're overdue for a dope live-action Batman. So hopefully Twilight Batman was it. What's your relationship with Batman?
I mean, I love Batman. I love the...
Are you in love with Batman, though?
No, I'm not in love.
Okay.
I love Batman. I love the Playboy billionaire, with more to him than just being a Playboy billionaire. I love the gadgets. I love the I'm Batman.
I'm the Knight. I'm Vengeance. And I love Batman because there's so many iterations of Batman. So like, I just went from Christian Bale Batman to Kevin Conroy. I'm Vengeance. I am the Knight. I am Batman. I'm just a Batman fan that I cried during a Batman documentary called We Are the Batman. And I love Batman because...
Do you have a signature or two in the bedroom?
Yes, I do. Kevin Conroy signed the We Are Batman documentary poster. But I love Batman because he's a symbol. I mentioned before in the podcast, again, video. I mentioned before in our last video for Spider-Man No Way Home that Spider-Man and Batman are my number 1, number 2 favorite superheroes. I love Spider-Man.
I'm about to say Spider-Man is number 1.
Spider-Man is number 1 now as an adult, but when I was a kid, Batman was my favorite. It kind of switched,
I pictured Spider-Man being your favorite from childhood to now.
No, Batman was actually the first superhero I got introduced to.
Okay.
And it's funny because it switched. And as I got older, I appreciate Spider-Man more because I can relate to him more. But Batman, as a kid, I felt like he was Batman. You're Robin as a kid, and you looked up to Batman. But it's because Batman, as crazy as he might be, ultimately he's an ideal. He's something to strive towards. He's the idea that you can pick yourself up from your darkest moment, from your lowest moment.
Right. Why
do we fall down, Master Wayne, to pick ourselves back up, right? Like I think that's Batman in a nutshell. And the best Batman stories encapsulate that motif. And honestly, I think the Batman kind of did that. Thematically, I feel like it hit on a lot of the points of the Batman mythos that I enjoy. Right. That doesn't mean that I enjoyed the movie as much as I might have should have. Okay. But I did think that in terms of thematically, the Batman touched on every element of Batman in one movie more than I think any individual Batman movie has before this. It feels the most Batman.
I like it symbolized. I like the story. These are things that I like.
Okay, just staying positive.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Wait, would you say story? Was there a thing?
And I like the villain.
And the villain. Okay.
I liked him.
That's it.
I mean, maybe
we're gonna have a fun conversation. We're gonna do non-spoilers for this review.
Non-hate first?
Yes.
Okay.
See how you really feel.
Okay.
So we're gonna do non-spoilers for this video, and then we're gonna do a spoiler video separately. But yeah, so Dark Knight trilogy, loved it. BVS, trash.
Right.
This is our third bite at that apple.
That's not even in there.
Actually, that's not even third. It's like the 5th or 6th or something. If you count
I wouldn't even get. I avoided that from memory.
And my relationship with even like Michael Keaton's Batman, he was never really my Batman.
I mean, I prefer that than that trash that we saw on BBS.
Oh, BBS?
Yes. I still prefer, at least because it's classic for me. But
His Bruce Wayne, I never really got behind.
No, but I remember it as a child, so that's why.
I think I'm saying all this to say that I don't think there was any single actor for Batman or Catwoman that I would call my definitive live-action Batman or Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer. I like Michelle Pfeiffer, but she's not in a good movie.
She's not in a good movie. But I liked how she played sexy.
And she became
crazy.
Catwoman because mystical cats licked her to life.
Her to life and gave her life.
So not my Catwoman origin, okay? Like, and in terms of her acting and
I liked her
Fine.
craziness and her sexiness. That's what I loved about that character.
Fine, but she didn't encapsulate every element. Was perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
she's still my favorite Catwoman out of all.
That's fair.
So.
Christian Bale's my favorite Batman.
Mine too.
But if you were to ask me, do I like all the elements of his Batman?
No, I didn't like
this voice is stupid. What are the other drugs? No, I can't rock with that Batman's voice. But his Bruce Wayne, I believe him as Playboy.
Yes, and I loved him as Bruce Wayne.
Ben Affleck, his Bruce Wayne. Hey, I like those shoes. Not a fan. But his Batman, when beating the shit out of people, okay.
Yeah, they definitely made it more brutal.
But his Batman, when it comes to his story and characterization, trash. So every Batman had like a pros and cons. So coming into this, I'm very open-minded. I'm not that guy that's like, Twilight, Edward.
I was that girl. Sorry.
My first reaction was that, but having seen his other acting,
I only saw him in
his
Twilight,
other
so
acting
I can't
roles.
even give you an honest answer on that.
He was good in other things. He's not a bad actor.
Okay.
He's got range.
I can believe maybe he's an okay. Well, I can't really.
You don't think he was a good actor in this at all?
I think he needs a lot of direction on how to play blah. It's his blah set personality, like how he did Edward. Maybe that was a directing thing too, but he had no personality. I don't think it's an
acting issue though. I think his issue, if I'm gonna get in your own mind here, I feel like your issue with him is more so that just by virtue of his voice and demeanor and physical stature, the things he like when he tried to be forceful Batman, you didn't feel the intimidation factor. And
I felt it was Edward.
I don't think that's the actor though. I don't think it was acting that made me. I agree with you, but I don't think it was his acting that made me feel that way. I feel like it was just something he can't change. Just his actual appearance and body type.
Twilight throughout most of this movie with certain things.
See, I didn't. There are a lot of moments, and I will give Matt Reeves so much credit here. It was his ability, it was his direction and choice of tone that made this Batman feel more like Batman than any previous Batman. In terms of like the fear he was striking at criminals, I've never seen that element played up to the degree it was played up in the Batman. In terms of how he can make you feel.
Seen proof on that. It was written in that way, but I didn't see any proof with the character that made me feel that way. Like I didn't feel intimidated by Batman.
I did, but I did. The moments where he's walking through gunfire,
but that was the
where
way
he's
it was
walking
shot.
out of
I feel
shadows.
like anybody could have had on that suit and felt that way. It could have been me. If you wrapped it up that way, I'm walking around with the Batman
I'll give Robert
suit.
Pattinson this moment where he's the way he stares at in the very beginning of this movie. You feel like Batman is a psychopath, and that's why Batman is a psychopath. So you should feel that like
I feel like he's an emo kid.
It was just the way he would look at you like a fucking like a serial killer. Just
I don't know. To me, him as Bruce Wayne, I felt like I could take him.
Like if I was staring at you like this the whole review,
I was just thinking he's crazy, but I'm not intimidated by the fact of him being Batman. Like not as a brute force type thing. Yeah, I would take it seriously.
Hold it. But yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot. I'll give him a lot of credit, and it's not just direction for being able to give a vibe through a single look.
Listen, there were certain moments we both laughed because we weren't sure if they were going to be if this was a serious scene or they tried to make a joke. There was a couple of scenes. We both were like, "Oh, that's," and he'd start laughing.
Yeah, but I would. That's
like,
I don't think those moments were because of Robert Pattinson. I think those were bad editing and or cinematography choices. Like you know what I mean? Just bad. Like cut 10 seconds sooner out of the scene, and it would have been way better. I know what scene you're thinking about. I'm thinking about the same scene.
I mean, there's a couple of them. There was one point where the whole theater started laughing. And we were like, is that supposed to be a
was
joke?
it supposed to be funny? Cause
You don't know if it was a joke or not.
Some I think were meant to be jokes. Others were just like, I think this was just bad timing. The timing of the whiplash of the tone from like, this is like a emotional dramatic scene to now we're making a kind of joke to move into the next scene. And it was like,
or was it just
that
part of
felt
the next
weird.
scene?
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't know. You shouldn't have parts of a movie where you don't know if someone was joking or not.
Yeah. Okay, so not a fan of Robert Pattinson's version of Batman.
Yeah, I gotta say no.
So less so.
I mean, if it wasn't a
Ben
Batman movie,
Affleck?
I think I would have liked it.
Less so than Ben Affleck.
Yes,
Wow.
that's crazy because I did not want Ben Affleck to play Batman. But I don't know. I
You know, it's weird because I actually, it's hard. Like it. So another thing I was discussing with BeautifulDiz on the way here, on the car ride here, was that I like that each of these movies feels so different. Like the Dark Knight trilogy, BVS, DCE Justice League, whatever, and now the Batman. They're all so tonally and action, like I guess tonally and story driven differently.
right.
I'm phrasing this terribly, but mostly just totally different. Totally different. So every single movie, it's you can compare them, but it's almost apples to oranges in some ways. Because the Batman feels more like a slow pace detective mystery, whereas something like
I can agree with that.
the Nolan movies had mystery elements, but you're not watching those movies for the mystery. Like the Joker, for example, in The Dark Knight, a lot of that movie is him trying to like reverse engineer the bullet that the Joker uses to go find him at the end or whatever. That's detective elements. There's detective moments in that movie,
Right.
but I wouldn't call that a detective movie. It's a very fast-paced, like thriller type of drama.
Where Christian Bale was more of the physical. You saw more of the physical, the fighting, the training, the...
But see, you say that, I think the Batman had better action.
I'm not talking about action, but I'm talking about the proof, the belief that he was training and doing things.
Are you talking about the Batman Begins where he trains?
Yeah, I like that element to make me feel... And he also looked like he could fight to some degree.
Yeah, you had a big issue with the stature.
I do.
But it's like, bro, how many 10-pound girls do we see do fucking triple back flip kicks
Okay,
and knock out a guy? So I'm not gonna be like, oh, he's too small. Like,
I don't know.
could Ben Affleck's Batman eat him? Yes.
I'm just talking about the intimidation factor. It's not a Spider-Man movie. I don't know. I always looked at Batman as an intimidating...
But there were moments where he was
person.
intimidating. There
He's
were
just more
moments.
crazy.
But still intimidating. Like, intimidating
I mean, you're
just...
intimidated by the Joker differently than you're intimidated by Batman.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Intimidation doesn't have to just be physical.
It doesn't, but
Physical
Batman,
posing.
not the Joker.
Yeah, but I think Batman's scary for different reasons. It's not just... Again, I love the intro of this movie because they place so much emphasis on fear being a tool that Batman
Well, it
uses.
sounds like you like this movie.
No, I'm... Strangely, because you're so negative, I'm like playing devil's advocate.
I'm listening. I'm like, oh.
But there are... Because I'm basically talking about the moments I liked. Like,
Okay.
the intro I really liked. Like, just the idea that Batman... And they say it in the movie. Batman can't be everywhere. So,
Right.
how does one
I mean,
man...
I like that part.
Yeah, how...
I like the story.
They pose questions that no Batman movie before this had ever posed.
Yeah.
How does one man, like, peacekeep a city? You can't.
Right.
But through fear and intimidation, they had criminals, and I love they showed it. And that's when we get to my complaints.
More realistic.
When
with
I
that
get to my
version.
complaints, this is an issue that I had in terms of negative. But positively here, they showed that fear just by criminals looking into the darkness. And it's not like he's there, but just the idea that he could be there. But yeah, so by showing that fear in criminals, really made me go like, okay, I understand why Batman would be a thing to be feared in the real world. And that's what the movie did a good job of. It kept trying to anchor the Batman mythos to reality and how it would look in real. How would one man control a city through fear in real life? How would one man fight a group of people in real life? And a lot of the cinematography, it's not operatic like in BVS, where Zack Snyder every shot he films is like a moving painting.
That is one thing I did like about that. I gotta give
BVS.
credit to that.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's a great cinematographer, but in this movie,
I actually meant in this movie. That's what I did like about the interesting shots that they did.
oh yeah, the set design and cinematography in this movie is fucking amazing,
Right.
and the action. This is a negative and a positive. It's a positive compared to the Nolan trilogy, but I think it's a negative compared to the BVS fight scene in the warehouse, where it's filmed very realistic, where it looks like if you were watching Batman fight across the street, what it would look like. It's a very locked down, wide angle camera shot. So you see everything. There's no quick cutting. There's no shaky camera.
Yeah.
You can tell they're throwing
Which
kicks.
is refreshing, because you're so used to seeing action happen when you don't really know what happened.
Yeah, it moves like Arkham, like the Batman Arkham games.
Right.
Like there are moments literally where I could like see a triangle pop up like in a QTE, like he's moving from person to person, go boom, 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 comma, boom, 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 boom.
No, but it did good pace.
But
with that.
But the difference though, I was actually I say that as kind of a positive, but personally, I was a little underwhelmed by some of the action scenes because
they did it more realistic. Like
that's why I was underwhelmed because it looked like they were actually fighting,
right?
But you lose that bigger than life operatic action,
they made it more
fast-paced action.
They didn't make it bigger than life, but
no.
It wasn't what I would say towards that. A lot of times when you have those kind of shots, you feel like it's too slow. As far as movements, like you don't feel like the shots landed well.
No, it didn't feel sluggish at all.
It didn't feel that way.
No.
So I will give them credit for that. It did feel like it was actually a fight going on.
In terms of the ferocity, because that's my issue. The ferocity of Batman's attacks, it's second only to Ben Affleck's insane Batman.
Right.
Like that
but
warehouse.
More of a realistic version of it.
Yeah, he was
hammering.
The hell are you supposed to be?
Stop! He's already dead.
But in a real life type of scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were moments of like ultra realism.
Right.
So it was like kind of like, okay, you're doing a Nolan thing where this is Batman in the real world. Mm-hmm. But then there were moments where it was like full on comic book. And it's like, I'll rock with either. I'll rock with the realistic Batman. I'll rock with the fantasy Batman. But when you give me moments of both in one movie, it takes me out.
It's like, pick a side.
Yeah. And the moments where it's fantastic, it takes you out. Like there are moments where like, what? Oh, that looks weird.
But I feel like they did that with most, even like we were talking about with some of the epic scenes that they did. Where it was like, that was cool, and then they did something that was like,
Yeah, I moments like, I wish you just cut out like once, like 10 seconds sooner. It would have been great.
Yeah. And
speaking of cutting, I think an issue both of us had was the length. 3 hours. And it's not, look, I know DC fans, after the Zack Snyder cut, was like, oh my god, why would you cut anything? It was all amazing. No, it wasn't, okay? Look, I like the Zack Snyder cut more than the original Justice League cut. But even that could have been 3 hours.
At least that was
that did not have to be 4 hours.
I think this was painful sitting in the movie.
And the Batman could have been 2. It did not have to be 3 hours. They were just it was so. And look, if you're into that type of movie, for example, the long lingering shots.
The shots were very creative.
They milked every shot for cinematography beauty.
For storyline, it felt like they didn't develop the story good enough. Where they were staying on some of these artistic.
Well, for the ADHD riddle people like me and her, we need faster, tighter pacing. So
yeah.
So if we cut some of those scenes shorter, like how long did it take Batman at one point to pull out the Riddler's envelope message to him?
Oh, you're talking about the cage scene.
Yeah, so like there's an envelope in a cage. It takes him like literally 60 seconds just to go, let me get this fucking. I'm pulling it out. Like, me and her having a conversation, like, oh, he's still doing it. Why he's still going? It's taking a long time to get his envelope. Like, but that's just one example. But there's like that's just the movie in general. Like every scene is like that. Mm-hmm. Even the beginning of the movie, there's a long time before you even see Batman for the first time.
Right.
And again, if you're into that type of movie, you won't have an issue with that. But if you're like us and you feel slower paced stuff. It's not like a No Way Home where that was 2.5 hours. It was actually over 2.5 hours. But I did not feel that at all.
I didn't feel like it at all either.
Yeah. So I've seen people online talking about like, oh yeah, 3 hours, I don't feel it. But I'm like, don't you?
For this movie?
Real? For this. Yes. Oh. Yes. Early reviews, I've seen nothing but like 3 hours, I don't feel it.
No, I felt that.
Batman. I'm like,
and it was crazy. When I looked, it was about maybe 45 minutes or an hour into it. And I was like,
every hour. Every hour we were like,
I was like, we still have 2 hours?
The movie had like 2 or 3 endings.
It did. Yeah. Like I felt like it could have just cut in the first hour and went off to another. Left.
It almost felt like the last ending was like the build up to the sequel. Like, right. Like, you know what I mean? Like that could have been like the Batman 1.5.
Nah, I kept going.
No.
And it was like, okay, this has got to be the end. Why are we still watching this?
Batman literally says, "It's not over."
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Both literally did this. Oh god, there's still another hour. I think it was another hour when he said that.
Yeah, it was another hour.
Yeah.
Like impossible.
Yeah.
So okay, so the Batman himself, moments of moments of greatness, but we both agree that there were moments that
there were some moments.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been a better movie.
I like his Batman voice
Mm-hmm.
more than Christian Bale.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the Batman voice.
Where's Rachel? Fuck that shit. I like I talk like this, just but you know, again, what's realistic? Is this realistic Batman? Because if it's realistic Batman, how the hell does no one know he's Batman? Crystal, if I talk like this, can you tell it's still me? If I also do this.
You know, the only thing I liked about the Green Lantern movie. When she was like, of course I know it's you. I see everything.
I see cheekbones. So that's another example of like, so is it realistic Batman or is it not? I don't know. That's a huge nitpick, but that's just an example. But we both like the story and the thematic message of this movie. Mm-hmm. I think the message was dope. Like the idea, is that a spoiler? Talking about theme, is talking about theme a spoiler?
I wouldn't think it's a spoiler.
Right? It's the theme. I'm not giving anything away.
Premise of the movie?
Yeah.
I mean,
not even the premise. I just think the theme was interesting and it's a theme that it's why I feel like it's the most Batman. Mm-hmm. I've seen this theme play out in comics, in the animated series, to a lesser extent in movies, but the idea that Batman's rogues gallery is created by him. Mm-hmm. Like, Batman, through an act of violence, decides to become justice. Mm-hmm. Tries to inspire the city to be better, but ironically, who he inspires is the criminal underbelly to get better. And right. they touch on it a lot. Even in the Nolan movies, they touch on that, where it's like at the end of Batman Begins, Commissioner Gordon tells him straight up, like, what about escalation? And Batman's like, what do you mean escalation? He's like, you know, if we buy bigger guns, the criminals get bigger guns. If we buy tanks, they get tanks. If you wear a mask,
they wear masks. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's literally the theme in this movie.
Vengeance.
Yeah, and you see and I like the fact that they do show this. Does feel like there's no origin in this movie, but they do show you the origin of the idea of the Batman,
right?
Of the Batman, like the Batman we know, where he's like a hero, not just a symbol of vengeance. Right. I think that's really interesting and dope. So thematically, this is one of my favorite. I think this might be, other than the Dark Knight itself.
Wow. Okay.
Other than the Dark Knight, because what else is competition though? it's Dark Knight and this, because BVS is ain't about shit.
Right.
And I mean,
the originals don't count.
Not really, no. Adam West, Sharner fella. So yeah, other than like,
wow.
But am I wrong though?
No, I'm just looking at the options.
There aren't many.
I mean, yeah, that's when you asked me the movie, and I was like,
yeah.
I like Christian Bale.
This wasn't bad.
Still my bad.
I don't want people to feel like I think this is a bad movie, because I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's a movie that could have been
better.
That could have been like the same premise, the same elements, the same theme even, but shorter, tighter. And this is going to go into our complaints about the story itself. More heart. It didn't have enough character building moments that make me actually care about these versions of the characters. Like, go down the list: Alfred, Commissioner Gordon, Catwoman, Batman himself. There wasn't a single relationship in those pairings that I cared about emotionally.
Which is so weird, because I spent so much time on the movie, but
it's 3 hours.
Yeah. And it really wasn't any scenes that explained any of the relationships very well.
No, and I was telling you this on the way here too. I was just like, I feel like this is a movie made for fans, where it's a movie that assumes you know everything about these characters already.
Yeah.
And look, like, there's a world in which that works. Like, I think Spider-Man to a certain extent was that.
Yeah, but not in a 3-hour length movie.
No. I just mean like, first of all, 3 hours, you have no excuse to.
Yeah.
If I don't care what your
30-minute series, we all know who everybody is. It's
Bruh,
to the point.
Like, if you can't establish a meaningful relationship in a scene between characters,
with any of the characters,
any of them,
yeah.
Like, bruh, Alfred and Bruce Wayne having a heart to heart, and I felt nothing. I was like, yeah, okay, all right. Like, and there's big revelations about Bruce Wayne's past in this that I would equate to things like the Court of Owl arc in the comics. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Vaguely.
No? Okay. But I'm not going to get into it because it could be possible spoilers, but it's basically everything Bruce Wayne thinks he knows about himself or the Wayne family and Gotham itself is wrong. And I felt like a lot of those elements were in this movie, but yet I cared nothing about any of them. Like, I didn't care. I cared more about the city itself. You know what the best relationship was? Batman and Gotham.
I mean, I guess that was the point.
Right, I understood he loved that city.
Yeah.
I understood like why he fought for the city, but in terms of emotionally, I got nothing. Like, a lot of it was just
Even that was
explaining.
kind of flawed because of how the story progressed. When we get into spoilers, I'll say that.
There wasn't any, like, they didn't do a good enough job of they did too much telling, not enough showing.
Right.
There weren't any flashbacks, and maybe the idea is like they're doing like a MCU Spider-Man, where it's like, look, we've already shown Uncle Ben die how many times. We don't need to see his parents get killed in that alley again.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do that.
I'm glad they didn't show that
I
again.
thought maybe that's the reason why it was going to be so long, but they didn't even play that.
But the problem is, so much of this movie is about Bruce Wayne and the Waynes themselves, but we never saw them once.
No.
Not once.
They didn't
Only
give any background
only
to
in
any of that
news
stuff, really.
articles. And that's another thing. As a fledgling writer myself, one of the main tips you get as a new writer is, if you have to explain your story through news exposition, do another pass. Like, because that was really what was facilitating the plot. Every time, like, hey, what's going on? Hey, the news is on. Let's watch the news and see what the plot is. Oh, that's the plot. Yeah, like, so, like, things like that. So, like, and we can go through each of the characters. Like, Alfred, who was played by Gollum, aka Claw from Wakanda.
Oh, wow.
You didn't realize that?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah. And he's a good actor.
Just like I didn't know who the Penguin was until you said it.
Yeah, Colin Farrell disappeared in that penguin makeup.
Yeah.
But him as Alfred, I felt nothing. Like, it's not even fair to compare him to Michael Caine.
I'm so sorry. I failed you.
I'm more attached to the Gotham Alfred than this Alfred.
Shots fired! Gotham Alfred! Fair. You know what? You know what it was? Because they had a weird relationship.
Right.
Bruce Wayne and Alfred in this.
I feel like they were trying to give him the Gotham relationship where he was
well,
a protector, but
it's like
well.
they felt less father-son to the point where, like, Bruce Wayne calls him out, like, you're not my dad, out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, so maybe they don't have like that close, you know, Bruce Wayne, Alfred's my real dad kind of like relationship like they do like in other versions. But then there were moments where it was like, no, I loved you, and you're a Wayne, Alfred. I'm like, well, so which is it? Like, are you antagonistic towards each other? Or are you not? Like, I don't know. And because they didn't give us anything, there was never
a reason for him to behave that way with certain scenes.
No, I didn't really understand the relationship.
No,
I could only go by prior versions and be like,
right.
Okay, maybe he's like a Michael Caine relationship with him. Like, I can't tell.
Yeah.
I mean, did you feel the same way?
I did. That relationship wasn't very well developed.
And then after his last scene, like, did it feel like he just fell off a cliff? Like, where'd he go? Like, he was in like 3 scenes.
Mansion.
Like, right? Wasn't he in like 3 scenes?
Maybe a little bit. Well, maybe
3
a
or
little bit
4?
more. Maybe a little bit more. I mean, you really didn't see them interact with each other much. You saw maybe 2 scenes with him by himself.
I mean, there were even moments where he kind of was helping Bruce with like the mystery, or he was like solving anything. Because like there are versions of Alfred where he's basically like second Batman.
Yeah.
Like, he's very involved.
Yeah.
But in this, he
kind of
wasn't. But he kind of was. Like, there wasn't enough there for me to care.
And he didn't even seem like he cared about him going out like the other Alfreds used to. Like, messed away, you know. Gonna kill you one day. You need to.
No, there wasn't that fatherly energy that Michael Caine had.
It's more like, oh, you went out again. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so Commissioner Gordon. How'd you feel about this version of Commissioner Gordon? And if you say you don't like him, you're racist because he's black. That was a big point of... I'll just talk about it. That was a big point of contention in the fan base when that was the casting of Jerusalem made. Same thing Catwoman.
I didn't understand their connection either.
What do you mean?
The relationship between Gordon and Batman?
Again, it's assuming you know
the history and the story between the characters. Because if you were, I mean, of course, everyone knows Batman and gotta know some story if you watch the movie. But if you knew nothing about it, you wouldn't understand anything that's going on, or understand why these relationships are even.
Like, why is this one cop helping Batman?
Yeah, like why? What?
Yeah, what did he do? What did
like the two of you that
like? Yeah, did
you believe him? How do you trust him?
Was there an event or something? Like, they never even mentioned something.
No.
Like, remember that big case was cracked? Like,
Nope,
that wasn't
nothing.
even a thing. Yeah.
He's just there and he's just looking out for him because he believes in him for some reason that none of us know why. So
Jeffrey Wright. I'm trying to find his name. Yeah, I think he's a good actor because I think
he's a great actor.
He was in
I always call him Peoples. I forgot what movie he was in.
Westworld. He was in Westworld, right?
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah,
he was the maker.
Yeah. See, he's a great actor.
I know him from Peoples. I forgot what movie that is.
I don't remember.
He played a crazy. I think he was a drug dealer. He played crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, he's got range.
Yeah, no, he definitely does. He's a great actor.
But in this, like, he's probably got the best relationship with Batman in terms of like camaraderie. But again, they didn't do anything emotionally with them to make me invested in their relationship together.
I felt like their scenes were like action, and they just started reading the script. It felt very much like.
I think we're touching on is the issue I had with the direction, and in places the direction was amazing. It was perfect for what the story was. But in other places, it felt very prequel Star Wars, not in terms of bad acting, but in terms of like everyone bring it down. Just bring it down. Like, everyone has to talk like this. What do you mean by that? Or do this. What is the next point of it? What does that riddle mean? Like, you know what I mean? It was every line was delivered like that. So there wasn't enough like playfulness.
I felt like they had to know that because even with the penguin scene, where the penguin was like, "What is this?" They both were like finishing each other's.
Yeah, it was like,
you knew what this is. You knew what this.
Yeah, Gordon was basically Robin in this.
Yeah. What the hell's going on with you two?
Yeah, so good actor, just didn't give me enough moments to care. And
No.
I mean, Penguin. Look, if you're gonna give somebody the best award for being the best something, best Penguin.
Nah, I'm doing
They need a veto.
No, oh, you're talking about penguins of all time. I'm just talking about. You're talking about the villain in the.
Oh no, I'm saying like in terms of live action movie penguins.
Well, you
he's
don't really
the
have
best.
any options.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I mean.
So.
You have no options.
I'm trying to.
He wins by default. Okay.
Okay, he wins by default. Default is still a win. Because I liked he did have moments of humor. He did have he felt more human because of that. He felt more like he had different sides to his character.
I know, he felt like Fat Bastard in some
little
way.
bit, yeah. But he gave the levity to the movie I think it needed. At least his scenes were always interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he was supposed to be the humor part of it. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's the reason
for
why
sure.
I felt like a Fat Bastard type of deal with it.
I like that they did, stay true to his character origins of running the criminal underbelly through under the guise of the club and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like those elements I liked, but when you get to another villain, forget that actually. Let's go to another villain I liked, Riddler. I think this again, that's Riddler.
That's
for
Riddler,
sure.
But I would even just put him just because of default. I actually like the character.
Oh, okay, all right.
I liked him.
It felt like a fusion between the Joker and Riddler.
It did.
I heard he was modeled after the Zodiac killer, and it seemed like he was like a serial killer type, like very unhinged, almost autistic.
I never really liked the Riddler as a character, I guess, because of how
riddle me this.
how comical he was.
Yeah.
This one was more of
The
a
bowler
scary psychopath.
Yeah, the
version
Stu
of it.
bowler hat and cane version of the Riddler is not intimidating at all.
No,
but
this
this
was-
version is he's like a gimp.
Yeah.
He's literally like a gimp. He's wearing a gimp mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a terrorist.
Yes.
That's literally what it felt like. It felt like, and even they didn't really go into it, but it did feel very like Homeland white terrorist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it definitely did.
Like even the message board element of it.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, these are all like white nationalists. Like he found some 4chan white nationalist board where he's like, yeah,
On social media.
yeah, they're taking our country. Like that's what it felt like.
But I liked how psychotic he was and how he played that role.
Yes. At one point, the movie disappears because the movie's so fucking long that
I forgot he was in it for a second. I mean, until they actually, because he
yeah, because a lot of the movie
didn't know
revolves
him.
around. He felt more like a facilitator of the plot to facilitate the Falcone like gangster plot elements.
Right.
So that's why I felt like he kind of faded into the background to the very end.
Well, he wasn't really in it because it didn't show his
And
personality.
then the end wasn't even really him. It was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't show him.
Yeah.
He wasn't really in the movie until the final scenes.
Yeah.
So that's when we actually got to see the character and actually determine if we like him or not.
Yeah.
But he wasn't really in the film.
But in terms of like a driving mystery,
Right.
I was invested. Like,
I was.
Okay, where's this going? Okay. All right, interesting.
I liked some of the riddles too.
Yeah, I'm sure what riddles I was just like, I would never guess any of this. We'd
Nope.
all be fucked. If it was
Yeah.
me, you never.
Both would have been done.
Yeah, we'd be dead.
Yeah. I'm not Batman figuring everything out.
What we haven't talked about yet is the titular secondary character is Catwoman.
Are we in spoiler terms already?
No
we're
spoilers.
not? Okay.
No spoilers. I just want to finish our non-spoiler
Okay.
thoughts before we get into it.
Okay.
How did you feel about Catwoman Batman's relationship in this?
Oh.
Do you feel like it had chemistry?
No, I definitely did not.
Okay,
They
I
had
agree.
chemistry.
I agree. I felt like
It was
Christian
uncomfortable.
Bale and Anne Hathaway had better chemistry than
Right.
Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, nah. There's no explanation as the reason why they would even have a relationship with each other.
But in terms of a
Right.
snapshot of their characters,
Mhm.
like they pulled that right from the comics. Like there
Right.
were lines, there were moments, there were like intimate moments that she was doing. That I'm like, that's Catwoman, like
Right.
straight up. But the problem is there just wasn't ever a moment that made me believe they got to that point in their relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, even like
I didn't see the appeal. There was never a moment where it was like, oh, I get why she'd be into him.
like Michelle Pfeiffer with their playful fighting they did in that Batman. You know, like they would fight each other and have those little intimate moments when they would fall and she would say something, something inappropriate or cute or witty or psychotic, So those are moments that you can see the kind of chemistry floating between those characters, but they didn't really
But see, those
do that.
that Catwoman and the Dark Knight Rises Catwoman,
Mhm.
I felt like I bought their chemistry as a will they won't they couple more,
Right.
because there was a journey in their characters of first they were antagonists,
Mhm.
so they were on opposite ends of Batman, and things about Batman's unwavering personality
Mhm.
is what made
Curiosity.
them curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
Is what made them infatuated.
Yeah.
But with this Batman, other than the line, which is a
okay.
great line, which is from the comics, is I have a thing for strays.
Mhm.
Like, but you didn't really learn anything about him.
No, didn't even know anything.
What about him makes him a stray? Just that he exists. Like, and she's not. It's not like he's thwarting her crimes.
Right.
So it's not like a thing where she's like, oh, hey, you're actually on my level. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? There was no like
There was no reason.
peaking of curiosity
yeah,
there.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
nothing.
Like, what was it that made her?
I like cringed when I was like, "Why are you guys doing this? This is weird."
Why are you kissing? I don't get it. Other than your Catwoman and Batman, like, you know what I mean? So it's weird. So
Like-
if I just walked into the movie theater and saw this, like the scenes they were in, I'd probably be like, oh, this must be like the end of a great love story between Catwoman and Batman.
Right.
But then I see the rest of the movie, I'm like, oh, am I missing a scene? Like, where's the scene where?
Yeah, they had to add something between the two.
You could just have one night sitting together, tell me about yourself, like, and, something.
Right.
But there was like, I feel like the biggest issue for me in this movie was the emotion throughout. There weren't. I feel like Matt Reeves didn't care about the characters' emotions. It was more about just the plot.
No, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. We definitely needed more scenes to establish these relationships
Even
better with the characters.
Catwoman, her whole motivation in this movie is to avenge and or find her friend who was attacked or whatever, gets involved with the mob.
Right.
You don't even know what their relationship is. We never even saw them having one conversation.
Nope.
You know what I mean? That's why none of it. When she's upset that her friend might have been killed, I don't even know her. Like, why couldn't you give me one?
There was no attachment to any characters.
It is a 3-hour movie.
Right.
How do you not have scenes of character building in a 3-hour movie? You don't have one flashback to Bruce Wayne's past to show me why I should care about Thomas
It was
Wayne.
filled with just artsy shots.
Yeah, like it's beautiful artsy shots.
Yeah.
Beautiful, like long takes of shots.
Mm-hmm.
But like style over substance. That's what it felt like.
Right.
And again, I didn't hate the movie. I feel like you probably hated it more, but I didn't hate it.
If I can't sit through something, or
Yeah,
if I won't
checking
watch
the
it
watch is a
again,
bad thing.
yeah, I won't watch it again.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I was like, I literally turned to you halfway in the movie. I'm like, I'm liking the movie. it's okay, but I don't know if I'll ever watch this again.
It was like it hit a midway point where you were still trying to decide if you like this or not, and it was like it could have drove it home,
Yes.
or it could have tanked, but it really didn't do much of anything. Kind of just fluttered there down at the bottom of the well.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for it to either just go up and be like, oh, okay, this is good. I can watch this, or tank. It kind of fluttered.
And you know what the problem is too? Because of the long length. And the same thing with even Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm never gonna watch that movie again. It's too long.
No, I wouldn't.
I'll watch clips at best. But
You've
like,
already seen it twice, technically.
Yeah.
So,
but the longer a movie is, the less rewatchability it has. So when you got a 3-hour movie of a mystery that I know the end point of that mystery, like what am I rewatching this movie for? For the dry conversations, for the lack of emotional character interactions.
Yeah.
Like what am I getting at? Coming out of even bad Batman movies, there are things that stuck with me.
Yeah, of course. There's certain scenes, even in the horrible ones.
Yeah, like I think what I was looking for the most out of this was like things like Christopher Nolan's quotes. I think Christopher Nolan's Batman quotes throughout all 3 of those movies are like, his writing is impeccable. But in this, there really isn't, other than I am vengeance. That's really the only line. I think the only thing that stuck with me are the moments of Batman looking bad. Walking out of the shadows, walking through fire. You know, dun, dun, dun,
and your Star Wars theme song, yes, that you were singing.
Yeah, she blew my mind. That I mean, if you want to explain it.
Oh yeah, well he's walking around singing, saying, "I know this song is great. This is the best thing about it." I'm like, sounds like Darth Vader's.
Whoa, pause! I didn't say it's the best thing about it. I just said that it's hard. I give him kudos because it's hard to coin. It is catchy, but it's hard to coin a Batman theme, and they went for it.
Yeah.
But then she ruined it by saying like, that's just the Darth Vader theme with a few missing notes, right? And I was like, no, it's not. Fuck. Da, 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 da. Fuck.
Oh man, you're just ruining it. Look at my lips. You're ruining it.
So, okay.
That's why it was catchy. We've all heard it before.
Yeah, so I can't even give him credit for that. But yeah, it's just that I think that's what was lackluster coming out of it. And there's a tease at the end of this movie for, a sequel. But I'll be honest, if that's the character that's gonna be in the sequel, and that's the actor playing said character, and that's how he will deliver said lines of said character, I'm not a fan. I look, maybe if I see the whole performance, other than like a little tease of it, maybe I'll love it. But so overall, what would you rate this movie? Did we talk enough about the positives?
I think we
great cinematography.
Yes.
Great,
some nice
great
artistic shots.
Great action, but weird execution of said great action.
The hits landed.
Even like the car chase, like the Batmobile car chase,
yeah.
Underwhelming. Other than the last shot, which was in the trailer, by the way.
Which was ruined.
Yeah.
For me.
Why?
Because of the way they executed it.
You mean the
ultimate?
End. No, you mean the last shot.
Yeah.
I meant the car chase, like the actual car coming through the
like
fire.
The genie sound to me. Infinite power.
I could literally hear a wah wah in my head. I'm like, what? Weird editing choices.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can talk about that in spoilers. There's a couple of moments where I'm like, why?
I want to do the reenactment of that scene.
Yeah. So what would you rate it? Given our rating system that you definitely remember, and you're not going to ask me right now what it is.
The one right above blurry vision.
Less than passable?
Less than passable.
Damn, you went low. Okay, so those that don't remember, he goes, poor vision.
You wouldn't explain it to me. You could have just first and asked me.
It was a test for you. Poor vision, less than passable, more than passable, perfect vision.
Still went with less than passable.
Yeah, you went low.
Not low. I mean, I don't want to watch it again. If I don't want to watch it again, then it's less than passable. Means I'm gonna let you rock it behind the scenes while I'm cleaning the house. The movie could be playing and I'll be doing something else to occupy my attention, and I just peek every now and then. I'm not doing that. I'm cutting it off and I'm putting something else on.
Damn.
Yes.
But I can't. There's a lot of positives about this movie too.
Okay. Positive enough for you to watch again?
No.
So it's not going on in the background for you either. I mean, passable to me would mean.
I'm caught between a more than passable and a passable.
Wow, you're caught between those two. I thought it would be less than passable and passable.
Because there's so many elements in this that, as a Batman fan, I'm like, they got that right. But it's crazy to me that they got so much right, but then so much I'm still like, really? What the fuck? Really? And look, maybe a day from now, I'll like, you know, I could go either way, honestly. A day from now, I can either love it more or I can hate it more. But right now, coming off the heels of it, I give it like a high passable. It's in the passable range. It's not more than passable, but it's in the middle range.
Okay.
But what did I give BVS? No, I gave BVS Poor Vision. Never mind. Damn, that feels so low for a Batman movie. But I gotta be real. It's just not my Batman. It's not the Batman movie
It
I
had
would
some
want.
good factors in it, but in the overall scheme of it, I don't want to watch it again.
No.
You couldn't. I mean, you could pay me. If you
If you
paid me,
paid
I would
me.
watch it again. But I'm not doing that in my own time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sit through that again.
Yeah.
It's too long.
Okay.
Maybe if it was an hour and a half.
All right, so I want to hear what you guys think of this movie. Was it disappointing to you? Did it meet your expectations? Is it the best Batman movie like everybody online is saying right now? Or is it underwhelming like we're saying? Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle. I want to hear below. Comment, like, subscribe, and come back for our spoiler talk because obviously she's going to tear this shit apart. Peace.
Bye.